Oh, there he is. Nice.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Uski and Herbie show here on Herbie Sports Radio. We are live from the studios in Baltimore and also down in Charlotte, North Carolina. So that's where Euan is right now. So Euan McCreath, you call him Uski, you call him Uski Rocks.
Just don't call me late for dinner.
You told me all the nicknames last night when I was in the email. I was like, okay. Like, what other nicknames you got? We know.
I know.
So,
what are you doing, buddy?
So
crazy time.
Yeah, it's a good weather. Yeah. So crazy time out there. What's going on with the stuff? But I hope everybody's safe, and hopefully we'll get through this like everybody, like this entire country does. But anyway, tonight we're trying to get your spirits up. We're talking some SEC football. We got coming up at 7 o'clock, 7:05. Phillip Jordan, who covers the SEC for a podcast called Talking SEC, will be on at 7:05, and then David Waters, who is going to be talking about the Florida Gators. Who, in this household, my brother likes the Gators, and I'm a Seminole fan. Tell behind the right there. Yeah. So we're going to talk.
Oh my goodness! It is good to get away from the TV, man. I'm really looking forward to the show tonight, buddy. Everything good up in Baltimore?
Yeah, everything's good. 90 degrees today, sunny. So I guess the heat wave is going to start soon. But we might get thunderstorms later. So, folks, if you want to join, if you want to text the show, you see it down at the bottom line there on your where the ESPN made it back in the day. You can visit us at Herbie Sports Radio at Webley.com, or you can tweet us right now at Herbie Radio. Or if you want to listen to the show, it's actually live right now on speaker.com. If you guys want to roll over there and listen to the show, you can always do that as well if you're driving around town. I don't think you want to pull over the side of the road and watch it on video. Anyway, so Euan, what do you think about the SEC real quick? I know we do a lot of the ACC stuff and Big Ten. What do you think is going with the big conference that everybody wants to be joining?
Well, I just think there's a lot more parity, it seems, in the SEC. I think it's Clemson and everybody else, as it has been, and I don't see anything changing this upcoming year. So I think it's stronger up and down, and obviously more competitive between all the players drafted from the SEC. They seem to year in and year out get the most balanced talent in terms of recruiting each year.
Exactly. Well, let's bring in our first guest of the evening, Phillip Jordan. He's on the line there down in beautiful, I don't know where he is right now. Let me bring up the there we go. I like the other three-way. The other one looks like we're doing like Jeopardy. So we got Phillip Jordan from the Talking SEC podcast. So Jordan, thanks so much for joining us. How's the weather down there wherever you are? Are you in Alabama? How's the weather?
I am in Alabama, down here in the Dothan area, and actually you were talking about maybe some rain. We are getting rain right now, so hopefully the listeners won't be able to hear any thunder and lightning there on y'all's end. But yeah, it is. We are getting a little bit of rain.
Yeah, we were supposed to get it tonight, like some scattered thunderstorms here in Baltimore, but I don't know when that's coming because it's still outside as we speak.
Hey, Phillip. Excuse me, Herbie. Phillip, I just want to ask, how are things? Things are so volatile around the country. Give us a live report from where you are. What are you seeing down there?
Pandemic-wise, it's kind of like where it is everywhere. People just we're a little bit more free to kind of do stuff here in Alabama, but still people trying to stay at home. I think the smart, are still playing it safe. And then the others, obviously what's going on, what's been going on last week. Peaceful protest, nothing violent down here. We're really a small community here, right in the southeast corner. So we've had some peaceful protests, but nothing beyond that.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, let's talk about the SEC. We were talking off. You and I were talking last weekend. The first question we're going to ask you: can Alabama retake the SEC away from LSU? That's the first question of the evening.
Yeah, I think so. Now, when I look at it, I don't think Alabama's the overwhelming favorite that maybe a lot of years they may be coming to. But if you had to ask me right now who I think is the favorite to get, it had to be it has to be Alabama because look, this is actually a rarity. Nick Saban bringing his offensive and defensive coordinator back this season. Usually somebody is left. He has a lot of turnover with his staff, and I think with the lack of spring practice because of the pandemic, him having coordinators is a big deal, and they've got a lot of talent coming back on this team as well.
Yeah, Phillip, I have an old friend of mine. He's a Tennessee fan. He's still talking about Peyton Manning. But I got to ask you, I mean, last year, 6 straight wins. They end up pretty strong against Indiana in the bowl game. Is this kind of do you see that they can maybe make some noise a little bit this year?
Well, your friend's not going to like me just now. So I think Tennessee at best is third place in the East right now. They're doing really good recruiting and winning those 6 in a row. I think if you took away Ed Orgeron, Jeremy Pruitt did one of the best coaching jobs in the SEC last year, if not the best. He was playing 3 quarterbacks. And then Garantano lost the job, got it back late. I remember the first 2 games, first to Georgia State, and then they lost the overtime to BYU. Outside it started, 2-5. They had the loss to Alabama, which they were in that game. It was a double-digit loss, but they were in it in the fourth quarter. And then they, like you said, they rolled off 6 games in a row. They won the bowl game with Indiana. Recruiting is hot right now in Knoxville. They're really hitting the road hard. Well, not doing what they have to do virtually, of course, but they're really doing well recruiting right now. So there is a lot of momentum. But I know there's some Tennessee fans that are taking that momentum and kind of wanting to push it a little bit further than it actually is. No offense to any Tennessee fans. I know I did not make any friends in Knoxville here tonight. I think at best they're an 8-4 team, and mainly their schedule is going to be tough too. You got to go to Oklahoma early in the year. That's going to be a tough game. And you still got Alabama, Georgia, Florida on the schedule. And I just don't think Tennessee is quite yet ready to knock off one of those teams.
Yeah. Well, we're here with Phillip Jordan, who covers he talking SEC podcast down there in Alabama. Phillip, let's talk about another sleeper out of the SEC East besides Florida and Georgia. Is there a sleeper in that division that you may or Tennessee? Is there somebody besides those 3 that you want to be surprised of? Because you got Missouri, you got Kentucky, who did really well last year. Mark Stoops does a really good job. I guess his brother Boomer Bob is leaving him alone and all that stuff because he's running the ball differently than Bob Stoops used to do in Oklahoma. Who's your sleeper out of the SEC?
If you're looking at the East, of course, you mentioned Tennessee, and that's kind of like right now the hot pick to come in third place in the East. But if it's not Tennessee, I do think it could be Kentucky. I'm not too high on Missouri right now. And South Carolina, I think this could be it for Muschamp, and Vanderbilt, same thing, not really high on it. I think they're going to finish last in the East. But if Tennessee was to stumble and not go 8-4, maybe go 7-5, I do think Kentucky has the ability to finish third place there. And they will play each other toward late in the year. And I actually think that game will determine who will finish third in the SEC East. If there's a sleeper in the West, I mean, we can't count out LSU to 16 guys, but they're super talented. We know LSU is going to got the talent. A&M, I like Kellen Mond. I don't like their receivers. He thinks they can be a LSU type this upcoming year. I don't like it. I don't think so because I don't like the skill position around him. Mississippi schools should be decent, be fun with Leach and Kiffin. And Arkansas is going to have a tough road with Sam Pittman. The lack of spring practice with a lot of these teams is also going to hurt them, like the Mississippi schools, new coaches, and Arkansas as well, too. So a true sleeper that can maybe surprise and win the conference, I don't think there is one. But maybe a team that can come in and finish third in 1 or 2 divisions. There are a couple teams there that could surprise.
Hey, Phillip, I wanted to ask you, I mean, obviously right now recruiting is hot. And there's I do pay really close attention to recruiting classes. Tell me about a freshman who's coming in anywhere in the SEC who's going to make an immediate impact, someone maybe that isn't even a 4 or 5 star, but someone that you think has the potential to make some noise.
I'm going to go very chalk with this answer, but I think it could be a possibility. It's at Alabama, and that's Bryce Young, the quarterback. Of course, they saw that Talia Tagovailoa, he has left, so Bryce Young is looked at as the guy that's going to be the second quarterback. Now, Mac Jones played really well last season in the final 2 games of Auburn game and then the bowl game against Michigan. But what if he stumbles early? Maybe Alabama loses the USC. Calm down, Alabama fans. I'm just saying if. No, I'm not guaranteeing a loss here. But
Yeah.
Saban is shown. Remember, Jalen Hurts.
Whoa!
Yeah, I was going to say, man, we don't want to. We've had enough civil unrest. Okay, like, oh, man.
I like to keep my house. You know, I come up here and go, you. Sorry.
But
Go ahead.
we talk about with freshman quarterbacks. Remember Jalen Hurts? He was not supposed to be the starting quarterback when he came in. They were going to have a package for him and just let him come into his thing. They had other guys there. But then he was so much better than the rest. Who's not to say Mac Jones could struggle a little bit? I don't think he will, but if he does, Nick Saban could very well go to Bryce Young. Now, the lack of spring practice probably hurts his development a little bit, but with Sarkisian there, he's shown he can be a good offense coordinator. I just wouldn't be surprised if Bryce Young's a guy we could hear as the freshman quarterback coming in. 5-star out of California. He's supposed to be the next big things at quarterback, so it'll be interesting.
Well, Jordan, talk about your SEC podcasts. How did you get started on that, and where can people listen to you during the football season? Because I know we had some people on last week. You know, there's a lot of podcasts everywhere, so there's different people talking about the same sport. So where they can find you being the guy go-to podcast?
Talking SEC is almost a year old. I launched it last year around SEC Media Days. It's done pretty well. You can find it pretty much wherever your podcast platforms are at, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. Those are the main ones. And, just once a week. I'm very guest-driven, and I have a guest on to break down SEC stuff. And I kind of give my 2 cents or whatever's going on, too, as well. But, yeah, it's a fun show. I have a fun time doing it, and I hope any of y'all listening out there, I'll be glad to have them on. Come listening, and I hope to hear back from them as well. Well, Phillip, thank you so much for coming on tonight, and I want to wish you and your family good luck with the what's going on. Stay healthy, and we'll get through all this stuff, and we'll look around in a month from now. College football will be hopefully kicking off with the media days or whatever, and we'll have some fun. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I want to say again, I appreciate y'all having me on. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we'll check out your podcast too, Phillip. We'll check out your podcast.
Hey, subscribe, rate, review.
We'll get you on before the season. We got some SEC, ACC battles, so we'll get you on before then.
Oh, most definitely. I appreciate it, guys.
Okay, Phillip, take care, bud.
All right, folks. That's Phillip Jordan, who runs the SEC, Talking SEC podcast. You can go online. You can find it on Apple. We're on Apple Tunes too, dude. We're on Apple. We're on everywhere. So it's always good.
It's awesome, man. I wanted to interrupt him and say, really? You're going to go with the Alabama quarterback? Come on, man. for the impact player. But, hey, it's all good. Oh, gosh, that was great. Anyway, Herbie, good. Who we got coming on next, Herbie?
Well, coming up next in a minute or two, he just logged in. We're going to give himself ready to go. David Waters, he does a Gators breakdown down in Jacksonville, Florida on Channel 4 down there. He breaks down everything Florida Gators. And, I do have to listen to some Gator stuff up here because my brother is a Gator fan, but I'm trying to corrupt his kids into Florida State fans. I'm working on it.
Oh, my goodness. That's crazy.
My niece actually realized that Florida. She goes, "Is that in Seminole?" I'm like, "Yes." And I'm like, "It's working."
Indoctrinated really. Oh my goodness, man, that's something.
I'm probably going to find out if I'm going to be be reprimanded by him, but it's all right. So let's bring in David here, who is down in Jacksonville, Florida.
Hello.
And hopefully we'll pop him up here. There's David. David, part of the Gators breakdown. David Waters. David, can you hear us on tonight?
Yeah, I got you loud and clear.
Probably your microphone. Hit your microphone again.
I can hear him.
I can't hear him at all.
Okay.
So let me check. Yeah. Is that you, David? Try again.
Yep. Check. 1, 2. Okay.
Oh, yeah, there he is. I can hear him. We're good.
All right.
Hi, David. Thanks for coming on tonight.
No problem.
I appreciate it. How's the weather down there in Jacksonville? I know you guys are dying for some football down there because everybody's ready for some football.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's starting to warm up. You get June down here in Florida. It's getting hot, steamy weather now. So not too bad right now, but these summer months, it definitely is going to get the sweltering 90, 100-degree weather coming up here in the next couple months.
Hey, David, I before we get into football, I if you could give our viewers a little bit of a breakdown on your background, and I don't think it's too controversial. I'd like to get your take on what's going on in Clemson right now. Obviously, it's a very volatile time in our country, but I think it's important that we just don't talk about sports. You have the floor.
So my background, of course, just first of all, Gator fan. The passion comes from there. Just started a podcast based on some of the coverage that necessarily wasn't out there at the time I wanted to started talking about Florida. I did some writing in the past. I was like, you know what? Let me go out there. I had been on some YouTube shows and some other podcasts before they kind of peaked over. That was around 2016. So I was like, you know what? I'll go out there and start my own. And consistency probably was the best friend of the podcast, and kind of blew up from there. Kind of doing it a little bit different. You're going in, it's strictly about Gators football. None of the other sports are involved. I'm a big fan of the other sports, but bread and butter for Florida is the football team. So the fan base lets me know that, and I have a lot of fun doing that. But as far as what's going on at Clemson, probably needs a little bit more clarity on the situation, but it definitely doesn't look good when a former player comes out and accuses Dabo Swinney of coming, or a coach on the staff, using a racial slur, and then nothing being done about it. So hopefully there's some more clarification on the issue. Maybe some more players come out in either defense of the player who came out and said that, or of Dabo Swinney and the coaching staff. But probably a lot more clarity on the situation. On the surface right now, does not look good, especially with what's going on out there. And hopefully it gets figured out, and it gets figured out the right way. Nothing swept under the rug, and it's all figured out. As these kids are heading back to campus and all that, everybody wants to be in a safe situation right now, whether it is COVID, whether it's what else is going on in the world out there with riots and equality and all that good stuff. So hopefully everybody coming in on campus, whether it be Clemson, whether it be Florida, wherever it is, everybody feels safe coming up.
Yeah. Well, Dave, I do have to say, can this really affect the program, with this game, with the team this year, when you're having this situation before camp in August, you're having a player coming out saying, one of the coaches saying a racial slur? Can it really affect the team getting it ready for a chance to maybe win their 5th straight ACC title, maybe going back to the college football playoff championship game for the 4th in 5 years? Can it really ruin a team right now, trying to, because you have that divide between who's right and who's wrong?
I would say no if we're under normal circumstances, but with no spring practice and all these players not being around each other, and you're kind of already, every team's behind the 8 ball. Every team is in the same situation, but I think pair that with what's going on right now. Where's the players' minds going to be when they return to campus? Is it going to be on this situation of what happened with a former player, or is it going to be about the season coming up? And I don't think every player's mindset is going to be the same. Some will be thinking about this. Some will try to figure out what happened years ago. And some will obviously just want to move forward. I think all of them will want the truth. I think whenever they come on campus and all the team is together and they have their first team meeting, everybody's going to want the truth of the situation and it figured out there. So, I think it does put Clemson a little bit maybe further behind than what they normally would be. They're head and shoulders above everybody else in the ACC, so I'm not necessarily so sure how much it affects them coming up with their schedule and all that, if we're just talking about the football side of it. But, with Justin Ross now, that injury being out in the public that happened back in the spring, and now this situation as well. Clemson's finding themselves for the first time in a while with some negative headlines of some of their own doing and some of their not really own doing.
Yeah, David, let's talk about some football. Gators, a very, very established program, haven't been able to SEC the year in and year out. And, we're conference guys. We always root kind of just like other coaches. We root for other teams in the ACC. What can Gator fans expect this year?
This is the year everybody's pointing to get past Georgia. That's the big question in Gator Nation and around the SEC and around the country right now is can Florida up in Georgia in the SEC East this year? If there's a year to do it, this is the year to do it. Jake Fromm finally leaves Georgia, and now Jamie Newman comes in and is going to be the quarterback for the Bulldogs. What it looks like now, we'll see what happens with JT Daniels in that transfer there. But Georgia lost a slew of offensive weapons with running back DeAndre Swift and lost a few offensive linemen as well. They have so much turnover on that side of the ball, and bringing in Todd Monken at offensive coordinator there to still bring back probably the best defense in the country. But with Kyle Trask coming back from Florida and Kyle Pitts and that pairing there in the Florida passing game and the experience Kyle Trask now brings to the quarterback position for the Gators, and a lot of people are labeling him the best quarterback in the SEC right now. So Florida's getting that trendy pick of finally being able to beat Georgia this year. Dan Mullen himself, lost 3 straight games to Kirby Smart, going back to his last year at Mississippi State and his first 2 years at Florida. So the biggest question, one of the biggest questions in the country, certainly one of the biggest questions in the SEC is, can Florida finally up in Georgia? So a lot of it comes down to the game in Jacksonville for the expectations of this Florida program. So, all in all, it's just everybody's kind of pointing to this year 2020 of Dan Mullen and finally beating Kirby Smart and Georgia, Florida representing the SEC East in Atlanta.
Folks, we're here with David Waters, who runs the Gators Breakdown down there in Jacksonville, Florida. You're on Jacksonville TV, right? On Channel 4. Yeah,
I'm not on TV all too often, but the podcast is partnered with WJXT in Jacksonville.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's talk about the you guys. The Gators got a great transfer from the university. I don't see Miami transferring to the state of Florida. They try to get out of the state of Florida because everybody knows you're down there. It's like a brotherhood. Like if you go to the Gators, they know you since the high school. You played down the street. Talk about Lorenzo Lingard, who transferred from Miami to Florida. What is he going to bring this year? Because I haven't heard of this guy, and I have a brother who is a Miami Hurricane fan. He never heard of him because I asked him today about it. And just what's your take on this running back?
He's a former 5-star recruit. I think he was the number 2 running back in the 2018 class, number 25 overall prospect in that class, and played a little bit his freshman year before he got injured there in 2018. Got injured about midseason, and then tried to bounce back last year. They didn't bring him back until midseason last year. Played in 2 games, and then decided that the coaching staff at Miami down there decided they were going to redshirt him to save his year. Most of his transfer comes from his father being sick. He's from around the Orlando area. He found out around that same time that he came back last year that his dad was on kidney dialysis and he was having heart trouble as well. So being a little bit further down there in Miami, I'm not going to sit here and kind of be jaded. I'm pretty sure, playing time had a lot to do with it as well. But the main reason he left Miami was because his father was sick and he wanted to be closer to his father. So instead of having to drive 4.5 hours from Miami to the Orlando area, he can now drive from Gainesville to Orlando, a much shorter drive, and be with his dad. So we were wondering if the NCAA was going to pass the one-time transfer waiver rule and he wouldn't have to go the traditional route. But we know the NCAA tabled that. But even after that was announced this past weekend, it was announced that the NCAA is going to let him play, given that hardship waiver of his dad being sick, and he can play coming up in the 2020 season. So he's going to have to come in and help Damian Shapiro make up for the loss of Lamichael Pirine. Lamichael Pirine's off to the NFL now. And Florida needed some big-time talent running back position after the struggles we saw there last year. So not only did they get Lorenzo Lingard transfer in, they got a grad transfer in, Stuart Reese from Mississippi State a couple weeks ago as well. So that looks to be the improvement that I was looking for in the run game. Get some more stability along the offensive line with Stuart Reese, who was recruited by Dan Mullen at Mississippi State. There, he's a grad transfer coming in. Get him a place on the offensive line, and then get some depth with a 5-star running back there in Lorenzo Lingard to kind of team up with Damian Pierce, Malik Davis, and a couple other younger running backs, and figure out the issues that held this Florida run game back last year. So Kyle Trask this year doesn't have to do it all by himself like he did last year.
All right, David, Running Waters, Gators Breakdown. Give us some info. Give us your Twitter handle before you go.
Yep, everybody can follow me on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC and the podcast Gators Breakdown on Twitter and Facebook at Gators Breakdown. Everybody can catch the podcast on all the popular podcast platforms out there.
Awesome, David. Looking forward to having you again. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and we appreciate you. And Herbie, don't say go no because we want to get you back on the show.
No, it's hard for me because I'm a Gator. My brother's a Gator fan and Will's a Hurricane fan. It's like I have so many people around me who want to fight me. So it's like I got to, Easter time, Christmas time is going to be a disaster at the Heidel. Just talk to Mama Heidel. She'll tell you. Yeah. Well, David, have a great rest of your summer. Hope to see you soon.
See ya.
Okay.
I think he heard me. Yeah. So that was pretty funny. Yeah, it is the truth. It's my. We have it's like Easter Sunday. My mom tells everybody like stop complaining about the. It's not the right to talk trash talking. So can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's great. It's a good guest. I sometimes it's hard. Herbie, I think the SEC is the toughest division in football year in and year out, talent wise. I think because of the fan base and the passion, I just think it's the hardest division to play on the road.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. It's SEC football. It's like it's part of their bloodline and their family.
Yeah.
Like you have the Arkansas fans. They want to go Culotta. The hoot whatever they do with the Hogs. And we saw that with the bowl game down there. We saw all those fans. How passionate those Arkansas fans are. We saw that guy with a cowbell with no shirt on.
Epic. Are you kidding me? I want to take that guy out for a beer.
I was like, wow, dude. It's like 35 degrees in Charlotte and you're wearing no clothes. I
wish we could go to an Alabama-Auburn game and I just want to wear a Tide, like an old school, detergent Tide box. That's what they used to do before all these fancy uniforms. You cut out a Tide box, you put a couple strings in it, and then that's your shirt for the day. I love it.
Yeah. Or you just wear the old Bear Bryant hat, walk around like everybody. Yeah. But people don't realize Bear Bryant started his coaching career 45 minutes down the road at College Park.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was in Maryland, and then they needed Alabama at the time needed somebody and said, would you like to come to the SEC? And he goes, sure. So he went from Texas A&M to Maryland to Alabama.
Wow. Yeah. I would love that hat. I don't know how good it would look on me.
We'll bring, if we have ACC Media Day, we'll go find one.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
I can see our friends at ACC Media Day going, what?
Did you get your ticket yet for ACC?
I haven't heard anything. Right now, I'm pretty sure we're probably going to do the old. Right now, I'm on my computer. You're on your computer, and I'm probably going to be talking to coaches from their office. I'm thinking that might be the way it's going because I haven't heard anything about it. So I'm thinking we'll find out sooner or later. They got to let people know middle of June what's going on. So
okay, all right, cool.
So, yeah, stay tuned for that, everybody. So we're waiting for Jordy Culotta. I think I said his last name right. Did I say it right?
Culotta.
Okay. So it's from the whole neck of the woods. So do you want to bring in Jordy? Because you're from Narlands. You spent some time in New Orleans.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's bring him in.
How's it going,
Jody?
fellas?
Thanks for coming on. How are you this evening? And Euan is from your neck of the woods. He he worked down there for the Saints for a couple of years. So how's the weather down there?
It is the bottom's about to fall out right now. It's about to storm.
Oh, okay. Well, we
Hey,
got
Jordy, I wanted to ask you. I used to live in Metairie for a little over 5 years, and I was actually a Hurricane Katrina evacuee. And man, hey, listen, I don't know if you can cook them, but we need some crawfish up here in Charlotte, the good kind.
Hey, man, we can send that. We can make that happen. My guys over at Tony Seafood can make that happen in Baton Rouge.
Jordy, before we get into football, just from a national perspective, I just think we can't ignore what's going down in Clemson, and without any kind of tainted opinion, we just want to give you the floor for a minute to just address what you think is obviously a very volatile time in our nation, but I just don't think we can run from it. Tell us your thoughts on just on the situation, if you would.
Well, it's been a whirlwind for sure for everyone, and it has sitting down here in South.
Jordy, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you. Do you have me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good. I can hear you.
Being down here in South Louisiana, I got to tell you, it's from just the protesting standpoint. It's been a little proud because of being able to handle it from a peaceful standpoint and being able to have a message that has been heard. Now, over the last hour, New Orleans has become kind of front and center with some of the comments that Drew made publicly. And, I think that right now our time and our country is in such a vulnerable time, but there is more openness and open-mindedness to talk and really to listen. I think more than anything, we just must listen and put the fight down and try to understand what it's like in other people's shoes. I mean? There's situations and circumstances that I may not be able to understand and comprehend from an experience standpoint, but I want to be part of the solution and part of an answer rather than more, just more discourse and distrust because right now, I see the prism of the world through my 9-year-old son, and I'm scared to death of the future and what he is going to grow up in. And I just want to make sure and do my part in trying to create some momentum that can be a positive influence on him in the future for the relationships of our races, our police, our protection, everybody, because this is a very, very humbling, bad time in our world right now, but hopefully some good and some change can come from it.
Exactly. I agree with you. I have a niece who's, going to be 4 years old in September. My brother's going to have a newborn son coming soon. So this is going to call for them. Seeing all this stuff, we're not used to this because our parents went through this stuff in the 60s. I could talk to my dad about what happened in the 60s and the 70s, about all this stuff and, learning from his ways, but that's totally different. That's 60s and the 70s. This is 2020.
Yeah, and I was having that same conversation today with a mentor of mine who was giving me the experiences of growing up in South Louisiana as a minority in the 60s and 70s and how difficult it was, and now how while they he hopes that times have changed to look around. It's very similar in the sites that he sees. So, like I said, I hope we can be a part of it that moves the conversation and moves forward towards a resolution rather than splintering apart further and causing more disruption and more distrust.
Yeah, Jordy, thanks for sharing those insights. Let's talk a little bit about football now. I got an old friend of mine in Slidell. He's like, doesn't care that Joe Burrow's gone. He's like, it's dynasty time. I'm like, listen, not going to throw. Miles is not going to throw for 60 touchdown passes. He's like, you wait and see. What should he expect this year? I mean, God bless him. I love him. What do Tigers fans? Always the expectations are high. Obviously, they couldn't be any higher. You lose Joe Burrow, but talk to us about what that offense is going to look like. Do you expect them to miss a couple of beats? I mean, they have to, right?
Yeah, look, I don't think you'll ever see it again. I don't think that LSU fans, and we've been saying that on the radio since Burrow left the program, you'll never see a season like this again because it was very much a perfect storm of a guy like Joe Brady, a leader like Joe Burrow, and then all the ancillary parts, guys. I mean, you've got to have that alpha, that big dog leader. But you also have to have some of the underbosses under that big leader that can carry out the messages in the locker room and make sure everything's happening. LSU had a ton of those guys. I mean, all you had to do was look at draft day and see the 15 drafted. They had 5 more signed free agents. They had 20 guys picked up in the NFL draft. And they're not going to be the same team, but they bring back a ton of weapons. You bring back Jamar Chase, who's the best wide receiver in college football. Terrace Marshall, he doesn't get hurt for 4 games last year. He goes for 1,000, maybe 15 touchdowns. But the defense is going to be better. Bo Pelini is now in town leading that group. And my biggest concern is the offensive line. You're replacing a center, you're replacing a right guard, and you're replacing a left tackle. And if you can protect Miles Brennan, he will be able to distribute the football. He won't do it at a 16-touchdown rate. I mean, hell, if he throws for half of that, that's still one of the best seasons in LSU history. So they will have the weapons. Can they protect him? Will be my biggest concern and question going into the season.
Well, Joe, do you think LSU is going to be – I know right now LSU is the college football championship national champs. Do you feel like they have a bullseye on their back? Can they go to Tampa and defend their title? Because that's where that's where it is, right? Tampa this year?
Yeah, it's in Tampa. And look, I think that there you go. We want to see him in the dome on the opening of the regular season. But look,
where's Tom Brady when you need him?
That's exactly right. What is the national championship is not the goal every year. I think what Orgeron has done, or sure it is the goal, but it's not. It's going to be the unspoken goal. What Orgeron wanted to accomplish 4 years ago when he took the job was a consistent championship contending program, and he is recruited at such a high level where the roster is now going to start to turn over depth. And there will be players on top of players on top of players. So I think that they are now in the process of still building that consistency. They have been to the top of the mountain, but I think that this is a championship contending program, and it will be year in, year out because of the roster that they've built and because of the coaching staff that they put together. LSU has become a nationwide destination for recruits. I mean, they've got 12 committed in this class. 9 of the 12 are from outside the state. And the state of Louisiana is always talented, very richly talented in high school football talent. So they are continuing to build that roster. They have a chance. It wouldn't surprise me if they end up in the Final Four because of the type of players that they have. It would be a hell of a run if they could do it back-to-back seasons. But they got the horses and they got the players. And like I said, I expect their identity will be a little different this season because of obviously Burrow being out and some turnover in the offense. But the defense is going to be salty. They got a new leader there. They bring back some guys like Tyler Shelvin and Jacoby Stevens where you can build around, and they're looking to set the pace, set the tone of the season on that side of the ball.
Yeah, Jordy, you mentioned Chase coming back. He was leading the nation in touchdowns when he got hurt. I heard his surgery went well. What do you think what are his strengths going into this season? And I want to ask you, it's a little easier for people to not how should I say it? I guess gets frustrated with when Joe Burrow's throwing darts all over you. What do you think about the importance of the cohesiveness? And is this COVID obviously what we're dealing with. I mean, is that ultimately going to disconnect the continuity, make things a little harder, or how can it not?
Absolutely, it will. And look, if you talk to anybody around the program, and we had a chance to talk to Joe Burrow, I mean, this is when they won the championship last year. Or during this time, I mean, was the offseason. Was Burrow getting these guys together in the summer when there was no coaches around? And I mean, Orgeron will tell you that team was different and knew what they were doing last summer when they were running full squad workouts without any coaches around on Saturday mornings. And Burrow was kind of the guy that was leading that group. Now, the facility has been off limits for the last 2 months. They have been getting together and working out at local high school yards around the area to just kind of stay in shape. But absolutely affect the chemistry, because these are the days and this is the times when you're really kind of building that timing. They didn't go through spring drills. They'll have a limited fall camp in what they're and how they're going to practice. So the chemistry is going to be big. You mentioned Terrace Marshall coming back from the foot injury in the middle of the season. Look, with Jamar Chase as the number one wide receiver in the country, you bring in Terrace Marshall. They may have the best combination again. I mean, last year it was Jefferson and Chase. This year it could be Marshall and Chase as the best two-headed tandem. I will tell you guys, the one player that nobody is going to be prepared for as far as a scouting report goes, especially early in the season for LSU, the tight end Eric Gilbert. Gilbert is the guy that comes out of Atlanta, Georgia. They stole him out of Kirby Smart's backyard. He is NFL ready. Forget SEC and college football ready. This guy looks the part of a Sunday starter. They're going to use him in the red zone as a wide receiver. He's going to take the pressure off of Jamar Chase and Terrace Marshall. That's why I'm telling you, I believe their weapons could be as good. I mean, remember, guys, I mean, you're talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was the first running back selected. Thad Moss was a tight end that's going to end up playing in Washington. They had a wide receiver, Stephon Sullivan, who only caught 8 balls last season that was drafted by Seattle. So, I mean, they've got guys that are coming in.
That's true. Jody, talk about your morning show. You have is he a former Saint quarterback? And what's it like working with him on the air in the morning?
No, I got his son. So Bobby Abear, the kid from Canton, who was the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints' first playoff. His son T-Bob was an offensive lineman on the LSU 2011 team that played for that national championship first in Saban in Alabama, and it ended up getting shut out of the Dome that night. But he was a starting center on that team. He was the last cut for the St. Louis Rams in training camp that following fall. And after that, he thought about going to Canada, but he just came back down to Baton Rouge and got into radio. And we've been doing a morning show for the last 4 years in New Orleans and Baton Rouge, and it's in Alexandria and Lafayette. So we're all throughout South Louisiana. It's fun, man. It's cool every morning.
So it's
Jordy,
7-9.
thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to try to get down to Baton Rouge. I mean, I went to a couple LSU games, and I always remember to tell people, because I'm in Charlotte, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to Clemson, Death Valley," and I'm like, "That's not the original Death Valley."
Right, man. Death Valley,
right?
Death Valley 2.0. You come down to Baton Rouge, man. You let us know. We'll make sure to make it a good experience for you down in Death Valley, in the real Death Valley.
We'll do your Twitter handle. People listen to your show on Spotify and the other network platforms.
Yeah, we're on Twitter. The name of our show is Off the Bench, and the show is on Twitter at OTB_ESPN. You can hit me on Twitter at Jordy Culotta, but we're daily 7 to 9 a.m. That's Central Standard Time, 7 to 9 a.m. in South Louisiana. And you can hear and listen to everything online at 1045ESPN.com. We've got a YouTube channel like you guys do. We upload our content too every day. So, I mean, you guys know it. I mean, we were a radio show, but we're really now a multimedia show. We're on the internet, we're on television, we're on radio, we're on the app. We're all over the place. So you can, if you want to catch our we have Coach Orgeron on once a week. He comes on with us Tuesday morning. He was on with us earlier this week. So if you want to go catch out some of that sound, it's on our YouTube channel. Just search Off the Bench, and you'll see it all there.
Yeah, I'm glad he's doing a great job down there. I think.
Hell yeah, baby.
Well, I think quick. I feel like Ogeron's doing a good job down there because he got. I don't want to use the word screwed, but on Southern Cal, he was picked to be the replacement guy and see you later. I feel like he never got that chance in Southern Cal.
Yeah, look, and he'll tell you that was one of the worst days of his life. He thought that his coaching career was kind of over. He thought it was over, and that was really a blessing in disguise because it set him up to become LSU's defensive line coach. Then he became the recruiting coordinator. Then he became the interim head coach, and then he became the permanent head coach. And guys, you can see everything that he's learned along the way. Everybody wanted to bring up the red flags from Ole Miss. When he was very saying, look, I didn't handle that right. I wasn't prepared to be a head coach. I was coaching the program as a defensive line coach. I didn't really know what I was doing, but now, he had been with Monty Kiffin. He coached with Monty Kiffin at Tennessee. He went back to Pete Carroll at USC where he learned a ton. Jimmy Johnson is a guy who's a mentor of his, who he keeps in touch with and touches base with at least once a month. And he's very humble. He understands that the program is much bigger than him, but he's the right guy at the right time. And I tell you what he does better than anything, guys, is he delegates. He's brought in guys, whether it's his coaching staff and players, and he's just put them in their lane, and he has told them to run, and he stayed out of the way. And LSU feels like it's a machine right now. Like it's recruiting itself, and all of that positive momentum can go right back to him. Everything that either goes in or comes out of that program has his blessing and his guarantee, whether it's going to work or it's not going to happen. So he has done a tremendous job. I keep saying on the radio, and people keep asking me for it, but you could give him a lifetime contract. He is. I don't know if you can find a guy that would be better suited to run the program for at least the next decade than Ogeron.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, Jordy, thank you so much for coming on tonight. God bless you and your family. Hope everybody's safe, and we'll hopefully talk to you start a college football season. If we should have a college football season. Probably maybe with 12 fans, and that's it.
Yes.
Probably.
Stay safe.
Country needs football. I don't care if there's no fans there. We need football back. Come
All right,
on.
Jordy.
Amen.
This is the round. Make sports great, Jordy. We need this together.
I got no problem with watching 12 weeks of scrimmages. No fans, no nothing. I just want football, man. It's all good. Hey, stay safe, fellas. Thanks for having me.
All right, Jordy. Thank you.
You got it. See you.
You're welcome. Coming on. Let's see. That was a good interview. Let me pull this thing off so Jody's gone. Folks, thanks for joining us here on the Sports Desk here on Herbie Sports Radio. We're going to get rid of
Herbie, can you hear me?
his bed.
I can't hear you.
There's that. Hold on here. We're having a little technical difficulties. Folks, thanks for Fun Sports Radio. We're trying to get Euan back on the show here.
Okay, I can hear you. We're good.
We're having there's Euan. Yeah, we're at the old building here in the office, and when the AC comes on, it kind of hiccups real quick and knocks us offline. But it's okay. We're doing good here. So we got Gentry Estes with us, sports columnist from the Tennessee, in to join us. He's sitting there nice and patiently. So hopefully can we add him? Hello.
Oh, we missed him.
Hold on. seeing what's going on here. No, waiting for Gentry to come on here. There he is. Come on, camera. We're working here, folks. We're doing the best we can. Gentry coming on. Why is it not coming up?
We had him before. Yeah, we had him.
Come on.
There he is.
There he is. We had a little second. Yeah, this is what live radio does, folks, and TV. When you have issues and hiccups, we try not to panic. Right here, Euan? Try not to panic.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Hey, Gentry, how are you?
Joining us today.
Hey, good to be with you guys.
Yeah, sorry for the little delay there. That's what you get for a low budget computer and everything else. So we'll work on that this year. Anyway, how's the weather there in Tennessee? First of all, we got to talk about something that happened today in college football. I want to say a passing of a football legend, and Johnny Majors, who basically spent a lot of his football career in Tennessee, with the Vols, but he did take a couple of detours with Iowa State and Pittsburgh. So let's talk about the summer around there in Tennessee with him passing today.
Yeah, and just a couple of days ago, you had Pat Dye have that happen. So it's been kind of a tough week for SEC coaching legends, and they both were. I think in the case of Johnny Majors, he's a guy that maybe he didn't take Tennessee to greatness, and I think you would say that he wins a championship at Pitt. He was in the process of building something pretty special there when he goes to Tennessee. But having played at Tennessee, he was always a special member of that family. And, he stayed that way. He stayed a Tennessee fan the rest of the time, even though it was not always – it was kind of a complicated situation given how Phillip Jordan stepped into that job back in 92, 93, and then stayed in it for so long and back as AD. That whole time, Johnny Majors stayed very much a Tennessee fan, very loyal, and a presence around the university, and he's certainly a great Vol to remember.
Yeah, Gentry, Tennessee, they finished up the season really well last year. I mean, they had a point where looked like everything was going downhill. They rattled off 6 straight wins. What is the reason for the turnaround? What are expectations down in Nashville this year?
Well, I do think they improved quite a bit over the course of last season, clearly. I give credit to Jeremy Pruitt and that staff for kind of keeping things together. When you open the season losing to Georgia State the way they did, that really could have gotten off the rails pretty quick. And they continued to play well. They bought in. And but how many times, guys, over the years have you seen Tennessee take advantage of how the schedule falls in November and finish strong? That's happened quite a bit where they finish strong and then they go into the next season as kind of that team that everybody's talking about because they went through that stretch of Kentucky and Vanderbilt and then won a bowl game, and now everybody is talking about Tennessee the next year because of how they finished. Is it for real? We'll see. I do think they're getting better. If I'm a Tennessee fan, what is encouraging me more than anything else is how they're recruiting right now. That's where they have needed it. The upgrade the most, and that is where I think when you hire Jeremy Pruitt, that's where you kind of expect the upgrade the most. I felt like he's positioned better to help them start recruiting like that than maybe some of the other coaches they've had have been, and it's starting to happen now to where I think they're starting to build that talent back.
Yeah, we want to ask you what you take the whole Clemson situation with the coach saying a racial slur to a player a couple of years ago, or what's your take on that? If you're a coach like David Sweeney, can you get your players back, circle the wagons, and get everybody back to the same page?
Honestly, I don't know really what happened. I've read a couple of stories about it. I really don't know a lot about what happened at Clemson. I've read a couple of things, but I know it happened a few years ago, so I don't think it's something that just happened.
No worries, Gentry. Let me ask you this. I miss the old Tennessee, Florida battles. I miss the SEC rivals. What are fair expectations? I looked at the schedule. mean, obviously, there's going to be challenges when you play. In the SEC, their non-conference games, I think, are going to be important if they're going to make a bowl. What's going to be considered a good year for the Volunteers?
I think making a dent in Georgia, Florida, that group, and really competing for the East. You don't necessarily have to win it, but you need to. It'd be nice to get into late October in contention for it. And I think that would show, progress to where they can continue to build and recruiting off that. What's happening for Tennessee right now is they've become, when you get a couple of key guys in recruiting, now you can get a few more guys, then you get a few more. All of a sudden your class becomes kind of the thing to do, and that's how you build momentum in recruiting. It's something Tennessee hasn't had as much recently, but they've really got it going now. I don't know if you're going to see the kind of team next year that takes immediate advantage of that sort of thing just yet, but they're clearly on the right path now. They're getting some momentum away from the field. Now you can't lose it on the field. You can't go lose to Georgia State. I mean, this is the kind of thing where Neyland Stadium's a pretty big advantage, guys, when it's full and it's loud. What if there's no fans? What if you're not having to play Oklahoma because there's no non-conference game? There's so many uncertainties with how this season's going to play out as it is. But I think really just don't take a step back. You're going to see.
Well, let's talk about one of the games that Tennessee will be playing this year. They're going to be taking on Oklahoma this year at there in Neyland Stadium. Last time they played each other was with Baker Mayfield going around and around in the backfield. So can Tennessee knock off Oklahoma? Because Oklahoma this year has no Jalen Hurts, no Baker Mayfield, no Landry, no anybody. This is a brand new Oklahoma offense that you don't even know who's the quarterback.
I mean, can they? Sure. Will they? Probably not, honestly. I mean, Oklahoma's a pretty tough ask, I think, for anybody right now. It seems like every year they're right there in the playoff hunt. So we'll see. The season's just so strange because you don't know how it's going to set up, who's going to be able to play. Are they going to have fans? Is the schedule going to look the same? Is this game that's supposedly the second week of the season, is it now going to be in November? There's just so many uncertainties that to sit there and pick a game, it's just harder now than it ever has been.
Exactly.
Well, Gentry, thank you so much for joining us. Sorry for you getting in here late, but we wanted to touch base. And as we continue to go on, especially around SEC and ACC media days, we're going to want to bring you in. And in fact, Herbie and I were talking about maybe taking a trip down to Knoxville, all things considered. Any good hot spots down there? Herbie and we're big on food. What do you got down there?
My dad's watching. Come on, man.
I lived in Knoxville a couple of years. Calhoun's is tough to beat. If you're looking for that, I always told people Calhoun's in Knoxville because they have pretty much everything. Anything anybody would want, it's there and it's good. So there you go.
All right, fair enough. Give everyone your Twitter handle and how they can follow you, and we appreciate you being on the show tonight.
Yeah, you can follow me at Gentry_Estes on Twitter and read everything we've got going at Tennessean.com. And thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. So, Euan, you're trying to get me like 400. Euan, I'm not trying to get all this wonderful food. I'm trying to stay. Can you hear me? You got me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to say if my dad's listening or watching, I'm not trying to get 400 pounds. Okay, this is what the media is.
That's funny.
Well, anyway.
Funny, Herbie.
Well, the first hour is done here on Uski and Herbie. What do you think about the first hour there, Uski, about the SEC? We talked a lot about the different East and West.
Yeah, it's going to be, just the fact that we can talk about football is just awesome. Kids coming back to college, a little source of normalcy. coming back, and I don't know, LSU. They're going to have some outstanding playmakers. So I don't know. It'll be great. It's just good to talk football. I mean, honestly, I very, very tough time that our country's going through right now. I think that, football and sports in general can be a catalyst to bond people. And I think we need that bond, whether it's, people come together of all races, beliefs, genders, backgrounds for sports. And, hopefully everything can kind of, just die down and we can kind of get back. And, Jordy mentioned I think it was his 9-year-old, and I think about when we grew up, I didn't have to deal with any of this. And, the future of our state, the world is at hand. So, but we know that God has a plan, so we'll just trust in him and not worry about things.
Right. And I agree with you. Back when we were kids, it was all on video, so we watched it in history class, about it.
Right.
Like the '68 riots, hear stories from your mother about it. Now we're living what they were going through our age. We're close to 40, and and we're dealing with this generation now.
Yeah, it's just it's mind-boggling. No graduations, no parties, no proms, no. Baseball, and it's
I know.
It's kind of our new normal now. But like you said, it's a tumultuous time, but we'll get through it. We're a strong country. I think we've gotten through worse, and we'll get through this together.
Exactly. Well, let's bring in this gentleman. We had him. It was an honor to go on his show this afternoon on down there at Fox Sports Radio 1400 in Columbia, South Carolina, down there in the where Gamecocks roam. So we're going to talk to our good friend Rob Sanders.
What's up, gentlemen?
Hey guys, hey man, how you doing? Hold on a second, we'll see what your picture's coming up. Hopefully. I guess
well,
you're
there
outside.
you go. I'm talking to you from the sanctuary of this big tree in my front yard. It's nice to talk to my two favorite guys on Herb FM, by the way.
Yeah, Rob, we love you, brother.
I love you too, man. And, I guess we're going to use audio today, so I guess the video is not working, but it's okay. We'll work on that later. So
yeah.
Herb, what were we just talking about? Who was our favorite Patriot? We were just talking about you, Rob, and Chris said you're our favorite Patriot, man. It is awesome. Oh, there you are, dude. Look at those shades.
Wow,
I
man,
know, right?
Superstar. Oh my God, I'm underdressed right now. Man.
The sun is still out over here in my neighborhood, as you can, I guess I don't know, but anyway, it is great to be on with you guys this evening.
Yes, exactly. We want first of all, let's talk about what you and I were talking last night on text message about that situation in down there in Clemson with Dan Perlman, one of the coaches for Dabo Swinney's coaching staff. Said a racial slur during practice a couple of years ago. What's your take on that?
Well, I think that if you use a racial slur, it should be addressed. The player that he used the racial slur with, apparently they got together and they were able to work it out. I do think that there's going to be a big section of society that's going to say, okay, why didn't Dabo Swinney address this? I don't know what he did behind closed doors. I don't know if he should have had a press conference and saying, look, this happened and then went from there. But what I do trust in is the fact that I think that Dabo Swinney is a good person. And I don't think he's going to harbor a racist coach on his staff. And I don't think that he's the kind of coach that would put up with it. But on the other front, if this is something that is part of the culture there at Clemson that we don't know about, then it should be plucked out of it and gone immediately. But I do lean on this, though, when it comes to that. Clemson has put a lot of players that have gone through and have been academic All-Americans, all ACC All-Americans. I mean, just you can go up and down the list. The majority of the young men that go through the program graduate. I just find it hard to believe that a lot of this would be going on and we wouldn't have more chatter from guys that had moved on, such as a Deshaun Watson or a Christian Wilkins or someone like that. If that was part of the culture there, I think those young men would say something more about it. I'm not discrediting what happened. I'm just saying if it was a big part of the culture there, I think we would have heard a lot more about it in the, 10, 11 years that Dabo Swinney's been at Clemson?
You know, Rob, I got to tell you, your first instinct was our first instinct. Look, Dabo Swinney, I mean, there's only so much interaction we have, but we talk to people who cover Clemson who are closer to him on a daily basis, who can, talk and confirm his character. And I think, honestly, it needs to be addressed, but to put that, we don't know what happened behind the scenes. And Rob, quite frankly, I thought about that too. I mean, you're talking about dozens, hundreds of players that, quite frankly, have nothing to lose that would have come out of the woodwork, especially at a time like this. And quite frankly, we're not hearing them. So we're happy to. I know for me, Rob, I just, the character thing is, big. And honestly, I told Dabo a number of years ago that if I had a son, I would want him to play for him, and that hasn't changed.
It's sad that it's gotten to that point, but in reality, I have to go with what I know, and I trust Dabo Swinney as a human being, and I think a lot of people do. He can have issues, but there are things that he said that I don't necessarily agree with. The whole thing with players being compensated, he didn't like that, but that's not a judge on his character. That's just the way that he feels, and he also was a college athlete, so he came up through, Alabama's program, and he's ridden in them shoes, and I haven't. So he can have his own opinion on that. Now, there's other things that he said about Colin Kaepernick and the kneeling that Colin Kaepernick did, that he wasn't really on board with that. It's just at the point, though, when I really sit down and I strip everything away, do I think that Dabo Swinney is a good person and wants to put out strong young men from his football program? That's what I see with Dabo Swinney. I don't see hatred. I don't see I'm going to play this guy or treat this guy different because he's black. I just don't see that.
Right. And I feel like Dabo Swinney is a very good Christian man. I was reading some of his quotes coming out of Clemson about this whole pandemic we're going through, and he believes in it's in God's hands, and I totally believe that. I think this whole pandemic is going to be, God's going to tell us what to do. I'm not trying to be religious here tonight, on this. But I'm just saying,
I'll give you this though. I reached out to the young man, Kenyon Tuttle is his name. He's a former wideout for Clemson. And I went back and forth with him, and when we talked, and I told her, I'm like, look, dude, if you're going to be someone that puts something out like this on Twitter, where it's a message that is racially charged, especially with what's going on in our country right now, I'll give you the opportunity to come on my show, and you can tell the entire world exactly what happened. I said, but you need to understand, I'm going to ask you, do you think that the Clemson program is racist? And he goes, I don't know if I want to do your show. And I'm like, well, that's fine, but I'm giving you the opportunity to do it. If you don't want to do it, then that's on you. I guarantee you that if I put something out on Twitter or something that I say either on your show, my show, whatever show that I'm on, I'm going to stand behind what I said. And if I'm wrong, I'll admit that I'm wrong. But he put that out, and it just doesn't seem like I think he may have been offended that day when it happened in practice, but on the other hand, if you were that offended, you should have went to Coach Pearman yourself and told him point blank, I don't like the way you said that. That's how men deal with each other now. You guys were talking about how we're all close to 40 and everything, and how, we're having to deal with things now that are different than what we dealt with when we were growing up. I have the mentality of, if I have a problem with you, I'm going to come to you. I'm not going to sit on Twitter and put stuff out there and accuse you of things and not give you the opportunity to speak for yourself.
Yeah, Rob, you bring up a great point, and I got to tell you, that's just great journalism, letting him know what you're going to ask him, because quite frankly, having one answer without the other wouldn't have been, in my opinion. I mean, just just to be forthcoming. But I just thought the timing. I mean, it's. From what I understand, and again, Rob, there's only so close, but from the players we've interviewed, dozens of Clemson players at ACC Media Day. We go to ACC Championship game. We have always heard that Coach Sweeney has, he's a player's coach. There's an open door policy. He's a good communicator. And if any of those things are true, then why now? It's just it's just very, very tough to swallow sometimes, Rob.
It is, and to be honest with you, I kind of heard from behind the scenes yesterday that it was Coach Pearman, is what I've been told by some folks up there. But I wanted to reach out to Canyon Tuttle and at least give him an opportunity, and because I know that and I wasn't going to ambush him or anything, I just wanted him to basically tell us why he did that, and I wanted to know the other thing too is there more stuff that's going on that we don't know about? Because that's important too.
Right. And I feel like in this day and age, because we have situations like people going on Twitter writing stuff. I'm not mentioning any names. I know who our commander-in-chief, writing stuff that's sports stuff. I feel like if you have a problem, he should have came out right, like you said, should have gone to Dabo right away and said, Coach Sweeney, I have a situation. Can I talk to you? And Dabo is not one of those people like, sorry, I got to go bowling tonight. I can't talk to you. Yeah. Nah. Dabo, basically taking that time to sit down and conversation with him. But I feel like this guy coming out this time this week with all what's going on in this country, coming out saying that now, it's like, what are you trying to do? You trying to, get something out of somebody because you feel, what happened a couple of years ago? It should have been dealt with a couple of years ago in-house, and that's it.
Well, and I want to say this too, and this is something that I've learned from just life. I'm a person that's grown up as a white man in our country, so I have no clue what it's like to be a black man in our country. So I'm not going to sit here and try to act like I know what's going on that front. If he was offended, I do think that just as a man in general, should have addressed it then. And I think that's kind of the way to go. I do think that if this is something that was going on and there was a lot of it, I think that Coach Pearman would probably be coaching somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree, Rob. Well, let's switch. Let's kind of switch gears a little bit. What can we expect from South Carolina this year? I mean, obviously a very, very tough year last year. I have a friend of mine who's a Gamecock fan. He's like, a great season I just want to go to a bowl game. That's all he said. And I'm like, listen, we're going to talk to Rob. I don't know if we're going to bring up the schedule, but I'm going to let you know if you're going to go to a bowl game. How do you see things playing out for the Gamecocks this year?
Well, the thing with the Gamecocks is that they brought in Coach Mike Bobo from Colorado State, former offensive coordinator with Georgia, former quarterback at Georgia. And they're supposed to be, I guess the term is turning back time. When Coach Spurrier went to Florida, he had this whole spread offense. We're spreading everybody out when they were against the curve because nobody was doing that. Now everybody does the spread offense. So Coach Bobo, he does a lot of stuff in the I formation. They do a lot of stuff with the fullback. And everything hinges on the quarterback's footwork, not necessarily making plays with his feet, but getting himself set where he can throw good set balls and make quick reads and things like that. That's what Bobo's offense is based on. Now, the problem with that is that South Carolina has been set up to do a lot of RPO and spread stuff, and the offensive line that they have that's what they're built to do. So they're coming in with a new offensive set, and they lost a good bit of their playmakers. The two running backs they had over 750 yards apiece last year. Now they're going in with a true sophomore, and then they've got a young man, Marshawn Lloyd, who was up from up there, your area of the woods there, if I remember correctly. He was up at, I can't remember the name of the school, but anyway, he was like a 4 or 5 star player that was from up there. So they're going to be really young at running back. I think they've got issues on the offensive line. Their quarterback is a guy that even Coach Bobo said, this guy's got some serious issues with his footwork, and they've got to work on that. So the defense loses Javon Kinlaw, the 14th pick in the NFL draft. I don't know how they're going to get as far as the pass rush and getting to the quarterback, which is what Will Muschamp wants. So saying that, when you look at the schedule, they kind of got the tough end of it this year because they always play Texas A&M from the West, but now they've got to go to LSU. That's not going to be an easy trip. Georgia's going to be keying on them because they upset them in Athens last year. If they could hang 70 on the Gamecocks at Williams-Brice, they're going to do it. On the other front, the rest of the schedule, when I really sit down and look at it, I see possibly 2 SEC wins. I'll give them Mizzou at the beginning of the season because I don't know if Coach Eli Drinkowitz is going to have them set up and squared away up there yet. But and the other win I've got is Vanderbilt. I think they lose at Kentucky, and I think that they lose to Tennessee at home. Obviously Georgia at home, and then the Texas A&M. They've never beaten Texas A&M, by the way. So with that, I see the Gamecocks at about 5 wins at best, and if they get to 6, they're going to upset somebody. And the upset could be Tennessee, but that would be the upset to get them to 6 wins. But 5, I think, is par. And if the team quits on Muschamp, because their November is, they have they've got Georgia, LSU, Clemson, and Wofford in November. They may win 1 game after Halloween. So if the fan base checks out and the players check out, they could go 3-9.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
I'm just coming with the facts, gentlemen.
Rob Sanders,
I have to tell my friend, Rob, I'll have him dial into your Fox Sports. If he calls up, he's going to say, hey, I'm Euan's friend. We're going to a bowl game this year. So I'll let that I'll play this video for him, Rob. But thanks so much for the insight.
I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah. Well, Rob, thanks for coming on, buddy. I know you're a busy man, and thanks for letting me come on this afternoon. It was fun talking SEC football, and you always have a home here at Herbie FM Radio if you want to come on, and we'll discuss like the big games coming up the first week of the Labor Day weekend now because you got Notre Dame and Navy playing at Annapolis. That's going to be interesting instead of over in Ireland. And we got other games, so we got a lot of stuff to cover. Labor Day weekend, so get some rest.
I want to be. I want to send you guys my resume. I want to be the Herb FM fight consultant because I just want to talk about UFC all the time.
Rob, I got to tell you, I was so much more into it when, Liddell and Tito Ortiz. And, I just thought, I don't know, man. I've drifted off a little bit, but I'll talk to Herbie about it. And by the way, Rob, we appreciate your candor talking about that delicate situation, too. I think that needs to be mentioned. We appreciate that.
No problem, guys. I appreciate it. Whatever you guys need from me, let me know, okay?
Okay, Rob. Take care.
Yeah, good journalism. Good job journalism there on that with that thing. Good job.
Yeah, no doubt.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Bud.
And that's Rob Sanders, our good friend. You can follow him at Rob's So Good on Twitter, and he's on Fox Sports Radio 1400 in Columbia, South Carolina, where I was this afternoon by telephone, and we did some high or low, who's going to win what in the SEC, and I felt like with South Carolina, it's going to be a tough year, and I feel like if Muschamp loses, like you said, loses everybody, I feel like he's going to be back defensive coordinating somewhere next year because South Carolina is like they want to be back where they were years ago.
Yeah, 3-5 in the SEC, and obviously the SEC is the toughest conference, in football. Big Ten is right there, and we talk about the ACC and Clemson dominating, but there's a lot more parity in the SEC, and I think Muschamp. I think it says we're going into his 4th year now, and that was his worst year. So this is going to be a tough transition, and certainly that schedule that Rob read off, oh my goodness, man, that absolutely brutal.
Well, you got to look at also their schedule. Yeah, for South Carolina, they play Coastal Carolina. They're good now, but they're getting better. Then they got to take on Mike Houston, who was very good at James Madison, second year at East Carolina. So you got to see what he's bringing to East Carolina. Yeah, Mike Houston is a very good coach. He used to coach at the Cecil in South Carolina.
Right. So, I mean, early tests, I mean, I don't know if you could call them measuring sticks, but for a program that's struggled so much and really, you're talking about a couple of blowouts too, last year, Herbie. So they need to be more competitive. I mean, to challenge the upper echelon of teams in the SEC. We didn't get a chance to talk to Rob about the recruiting class, but it's a big year for Gamecock country, and not only that for Muschamp.
Exactly. Well, we're waiting for Cecil Hurt. He writes for the Tuscaloosa newspaper down there in Alabama. We're going to talk some Alabama football. Hopefully he'll log in here at 8:21. You can see us on the bottom line there. You can join the show right now. You can listen to us and watch us. If you're driving, you can plug in your phone thing and your jack in your phone and listen through your radio like I do sometimes, and you can hear us nice and loud and clear on your stereo driving around wherever you are. If you just want to email us and let us know where you're listening to or watching us, we'll love to give you guys a shout out next week on the program. We're all over the country now, from down the home office in Charlotte and the home office here in Baltimore. Yeah, so yeah, I gotta get some stuff for you in the background. I love the.
I know. I'm putting my man came together, but it's not all together. But next week it's going to be together, Herbie.
All right, yeah. Yeah, my mother even asked me last week, a couple of weeks ago, does he look like he's on the beach? I'm like, no.
You're killing me with the blue, man. I mean, come on. I'm a bachelor. What do you want from me?
Oh, yeah, it's like, Mom, he's a bachelor. What do you want?
I mean,
So if my mom's watching, she enjoys watching us here on the show. Even my girlfriend who's in the production room, who sends me messages if I forgot to take a box off the counter.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's so funny. We got headquarters and production rooms. I love it, Herbie. We're really coming up in the world, man. We're really coming up in the world, Herbie.
We're getting big this year in 2020.
Oh yeah, awesome, man. Oh, beast mode it. Oh, great, Herbie. I'm telling you, this show. First of all, we want to thank all of our guests, on the program. But this show is exactly what I needed. Sometimes we just doesn't mean reality's not going to be there after the show, but it's nice to escape and talk a little football. Just to kind of take a deep breath and see. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I want to do a shout out to me. I don't know what's your bowling average. What is your bowling average there, Euan? Do you have a bowling average?
Yeah, so I'm going to say about $112, $115. But hey, if I make the century mark, I'm happy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I want to give a shout out to all the folks at the Professional Bowlers Tour, Commissioner Clark and the gang. They'll be on live Saturday night on Fox at 7 p.m. with the Strike Derby on Fox. It's going to be an interesting program if you want to watch bowling. Bowling's back. Everybody's trying to get back to regular, normalcy, and it's going to be interesting from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Fox. Check your local listings wherever you are. And Commissioner Clark is a very good friend of us here on Herbie Estes Sports Radio, and he enjoys what we do here. So It's always good to get a commissioner, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Herbie. It's been a great show, and I'm glad we didn't. I don't know. I guess our last guest, maybe we'll have him on next time. But it's been great to talk about football and also address some of the issues. I think it's important on our platform. But
we got 5 minutes left. We got 5 minutes left. We'll see if we could wait for him to come on.
Okay.
But here's let's just talk about the SEC East. Let's do your top 5. Who's going to be representing the East in Atlanta at the Mercedes-Benz Dome, or the great camera of the world? That's what they call it.
Yeah, there's just you can't ask me for predictions right now. Are you kidding me? Let's just say this, Herbie. Let's just say I think LSU is going to have the best wide receivers in the country. I think Ed has done a masterful job. I think they go back, and it's a toss up. I mean, we talked about parity, but here's the thing. It's just so exciting. I mean, like we mentioned last year, Herbie, and I can't help but think about it. Joe Burrow was not a household name this time last year. So who are we going to be talking about this time next year who blew up the college football landscape? It's very, very exciting to see, and just an unbelievable recruiting classes. In the SEC, even at Clemson. So I'm excited to watch these great young players full of talent make an impact, and let's see who's going to be a household name this year.
Yeah, that's true. We're trying to get Cecil Hurt on the line. He's having a hard time getting on, so we're trying to connect him here. So just bear with us here on Herbie on Sports Radio. So Uski, are we doing the show next Wednesday night? What conference do you want to cover next week? We went for the Big Ten, the ACC, the SEC. Do you want to go Big 12? Go bring out our cowboy hats and have a cowboy hour with Texas and Oklahoma and all this. What do you want to do next week?
Yeah, I think that sounds great. I mean, I would like to get some coverage from Oklahoma. They've been in the national spotlight in college football playoff, obviously. Draft picks going in the NFL. Are they going to be able to get back there again? They'll probably be favored in all of their games this year. I'm not sure about all of them, but the majority of them. So yeah, I would definitely like to cover the conference.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll reach out to like West Virginia. See how they're doing. Second year with what's his name? Dan Holgerson went to Houston. See how the guy took over for him down there in Morgantown, and then you got on top of that you got Texas. Who Texas actually has to play LSU this year, and Oklahoma trying to get back into the college football playoff because some people were talking about it the other day. I saw an early prediction that they're going to be in the Super Bowl against Ohio State. I'm like, okay, we're early in the year, people. So and then even also. In Kansas with Les Miles, the Mad Hatter.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll see. They were competitive last year in a couple of games, so I mean, they really they played some good football a little bit last year. So yeah, you're right. I mean, who's going to be the team to come to the forefront and challenge the Alabama, the Clemsons, the Floridas, the Georgias? Georgia's offensive line is not decimated, but they lost a lot of talent there. Their running back, their quarterback. So can they reload? I think that's going to be the biggest question.
Yeah. So we got 2 minutes left here in the show. We're trying to get Cecil on, and if Cecil can't go on, we'll get him on during the the tour of the SEC before the season starts. I know he's having a little technical difficulties. I guess the storms in the area are kind of not doing so well for our shows because there's thunderstorms and all that stuff. But yeah, back. Oh, here we go. Here's Cecil. You got him on. There we go. Hold on a second. We'll see. Yes, he is. Here he is, making the appearance here at the last of the hour. Cecil, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thanks for coming on. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. I guess the storms out there are not the greatest.
No problem.
Not the greatest out there.
No, but I'm glad to be on with you.
Awesome. Cecil, let's just jump right into it. Sorry, Herbie, to cut you off, but Alabama, obviously consistently year in, year out, the best recruiting classes. They're in the national championship hunt every year. Nick Saban is a mastermind. I wanted to ask you something because obviously we cover the ACC and we've heard from a lot of players and just a lot of people around that, Clemson and Alabama, the two biggest titans in college football. And we've heard that Clemson's more of a family kind of atmosphere, and Alabama is like a football factory. Can you just give me your insights on that, Cecil? I'd appreciate it.
Well, first of all, I've known, Dabo came from Alabama.
Right.
So I've known Dabo for probably 30 years, thereabouts, close to it. And, I don't know that he would necessarily characterize it that way. They do. I think they do try. I think Clemson certainly tries to recruit that way. Now, what goes on the practice field or in the meeting rooms at Clemson, I don't know. Clemson, that's their selling point, that, it's family and fun. And, Alabama certainly is about work. It's about process. It's about Nick Saban and Nick Saban's way, and that you come with a certain set of expectations. Which way is better? I don't know. They've played in the playoffs 4 times in the last 5 years and are 2-2. So it's kind of a coin flip.
Yeah. Well, Steve, so I have a question to ask you. With this first game of the year in Jerry World between Alabama and USC, is that going to be moved? Are they going to be playing? I heard stories that somebody's going to be switching schedules around. They're going to be moving to this place off of Labor Day night. What's the scoop?
Right now, the latest news as of over the past week, USC is going to have classes. They're going to be available to have practice, prepare for the game, and the governor of Texas has said that stadiums will be available for the game. So as of right now, the plan is to play USC in Dallas. If something happens, and it certainly could, this has been a very uncertain time. If something happens to change that in the next month or so, then they'll make a change. I think after that, you're locked in one way or the other. If you get to July the 1st, then it's hard to make a change in schedule or a change in plans. But right now, the plan is for Alabama to start on time against Southern Cal in Dallas.
So, Cecil, I wanted to ask you, obviously, before we can even get on the gridiron, it's all about recruiting. Talk to us about this recruiting class. Very impressive, great playmakers. Someone stand out to you as someone that could be potentially, a household name by the end of the year and make a big impact, across the college football landscape?
We're talking about the incoming recruiting class for this upcoming season. Well, obviously, Bryce Young is the first name that everybody's going to focus on. The quarterback out of Southern California. He'd previously been committed to USC. He's now, he switched, has signed with Alabama. It's probably due to come back this week. He was going to go through spring practice. And he'll be competing with Mac Jones, whether Mac holds him off, which I think he will. And I think Mac will start against USC, but you hear some amazing comparisons, and Bryce Young certainly had some amazing highlights. And I'm not one that really likes to compare players, but you hear a lot of people talk about Kyler Murray, that kind of athlete, and he certainly showed it at the highest level of high school competition. And Mater Dei played on numerous national televised games. He always came up big. He would have 5 touchdown passes. He'd rush for a couple of touchdowns. So he's a dual threat quarterback, a smaller Kyler Murray type quarterback. He's not a pocket passer, even to the extent that Tua was, but I think he can be a pocket passer. So he is the name that most people are really looking at. They've got a tremendous group of running backs coming in. They've tried to shore up on the defensive line, and there'll be a spot for a wide receiver if one can step up. But the quarterback is going to be what everybody's focused on.
Exactly. Folks, we're here with Cecil Hurt, who covers for the Tuscaloosa newspaper down there in Alabama. You probably see him a lot on the Paul Feinbaum show. So I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
What's it like talking to Paul? But I think Paul is one of his, I don't want to say a weird dude, but he has a little quirkiness towards the more favoritism to the SEC than the ACC.
Well, you have to understand, Paul's original show, Paul was originally a newspaper columnist and was a prominent columnist in Birmingham, and had a little talk radio show at night that they operated out of a little basement studio, and at WAPI, a little 3-seat studio. And I would go by and be on his show. So I've known Paul and known his situation since that was just a sidelight for him, since broadcast and talk radio was just something he kind of did to pick up some extra change. He's picking up some extra change now, I'll promise you. But so I've been doing it for about 30 years. So Paul's very intelligent. Paul knows how to work his audience, how to keep the action going, and it's easy in Birmingham because it would be, you'd say something and make the Auburn fans mad and they'd all call in, and then the next day you'd say something and make the Alabama fans mad and they'd all call in. And so that's the way it worked. It's a little, he's dealing with a little bigger geographic territory now, but a lot of the ideas are the same. But don't let that fool you. There are aspects of Paul's show that people say, "Oh, that's silly," or "Those callers are silly," but don't let that fool you about Paul. He's exceptionally intelligent.
Yeah, I agree with you, Cecil. I wanted to ask you, a former offensive lineman I am, and, we fall in love with the skill positions. I understand that. That's the way it's always been. That's the way it's always going to be. How does Alabama stack up on the offense and defensive line? Talk to us about the trenches.
Right. On offense, they've got 4 guys back from last year. The only one they lost was Jedrick Wills, who was the Browns' first-round pick. They have 2 other guys that will almost certainly be first-round pick. Alex Leatherwood chose to come back. Probably would have been a second or third rounder in this immediately past draft, and could play his way to a first round. Evan Neal, who's been at guard, they may move him out to tackle. He is a first round. He was a freshman last year, started as a freshman. So he'll be a first rounder in the tradition of guys that Alabama's been sending up there, Cam Robinson, Jonah Williams, and Jedrick, and so forth. The center, Landon Dickerson's back. They've got the other guard is Deontay Brown, better known here as Cornbread. Cornbread's probably I don't know what the and the quarantine's not funny. I'm not laughing about the quarantine, but if he's been back home, he may show up at about 360. So which that sounds terrible, but they probably want him playing at about 345. So and really powerful road grader type guy. So they're very offensively, they're really good if Mac handles the quarterback situation well and they don't have any injuries at wide receiver. I mean, you've got Najee Harris back, you've got Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle at the receivers. They're really good. So offense, other than and Mac certainly has experience, played against Auburn, played against Michigan. And so if he has a good year, they're going to put a lot of points on the board. Defense was younger. The defensive line was probably a situation where Nick felt like he was 1 or 2 guys away from the depth that he normally likes to have. Last year, they had some injuries. If Dylan Moses is back, Dylan Moses is linebacker who missed all of last season. If you were talking about recruiting, people who follow recruiting know that Dylan was famous because when he was at Southern Lab in Baton Rouge in the 8th grade and had USC, LSU, and Alabama all offer him on the same day in the 8th grade. So that's the kind of prospect he was even then. And he's an NFL player if he's healthy. He's just got to come back from, he had knee surgery during August, during preseason practice last year, and chose to sit out and rehab it, and makes a huge difference for their defense if he's healthy. The rest of it, there, Patrick Surtain, and the son of the former Dolphin safety, he's a first-round guy. So they've got talent. A lot of their talent's young. They need to develop a little bit. They like a lot of those young guys. Christian Barmore, who's from up the road from you guys in Philadelphia. He's a prospect that a lot of people are really looking for. He played as a freshman. He was pretty raw, as changing levels of football from Philadelphia City to the SEC. But physically, he's got all kind of tools. So they'll be good. They want to be better than they were last year. You know, Nick Saban's a defensive guy, and so they really tried to recruit to the defense.
Exactly. Well, Cecil, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight.
Sure.
You can follow Cecil Hurt at Cecil Hurt, and you can probably see him on the Paul Flying Palm show whenever Paul gives him a call. And we'll look for you when we're on the. We got the SEC network here, so we'll tune in. And thanks for coming on.
Great guys. Tell Coach Loxley I said hello.
Thanks, Cecil.
Okay, I will.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, folks. That's just wrap it up here on the big program here. Thanks for joining us this evening. Thanks for getting Cecil Hurt from the Tuscaloosa newspaper joining us. Uski, next week we'll be back here live at 7:00 here on Herbie FM Radio. We'll do the other Big 12, and we'll talk Big 12 football, and maybe we could get the Mad Hatter or Mike Gundy, because I like his mullet.
That mullet's infamous. Great job tonight, Herbie. It was a pleasure to talk, and fantastic job moderating with the stats and the ticker. Fantastic job. I love you, everyone. Be safe. At the end of the day, we're one. We need to come together as one. So just want to leave on some good notes.
Well, I want to say something too, folks. We're all patriots, no matter where we are. Okay, exactly. And please be safe. And with this virus still going around, be safe. Clean your hands. Make sure you take care of your loved ones. If you're know some people who are over 80 years old, or your parents, don't get them there. Get them sick. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you next Wednesday night at 7:00 here on Herbie FM Sports Radio, live on Speaker.com, and also on Stream Live or StreamYard. So have a great night, everybody.